Welcome. My name is Dr. Steve Kennedy and I'm the Scientific Director of the Centre for Eco-Transformation at Rotterdam School of Management, ERASMUS University in the Netherlands. In a previous session, you have learnt what a sustainable business model is. In this video, the first of 3 parts, I will begin to discuss the sustainable business model innovation process. Understanding this process is important in order to develop new business models that may effectively generate sustainable value for the firm, its stakeholders, and the socio-ecological system in which it is embedded. This video is designed to give you an overview of the first phase of the innovation process, termed identifying. After watching this video, you will recognise the type of organisational practices that are required for you to begin your own sustainable business model innovation process. Let's get started. The sustainable business model innovation process may be broken down into 3 basic phases: identifying, designing, and implementing. These phases are offered here sequentially, but in reality the process may be a lot messier. There is also not one blueprint for how the process should look like. Organisational practices may temporarily overlap, be skipped altogether, or additional practices added as deemed necessary. The first of these 3 phases is termed identifying. In this phase, a firm recognises the need for a new sustainable business model and seeks to gain the knowledge required to help unearth opportunities and explore new commercial ideas. Let's take a dive into the phase to understand what it entails. There are 2 main steps during the identifying stage. First, sustainable business model innovation often starts with formulation of a new vision. Incumbent firms may be stimulated or awakened by an external shock in their business environment. A rise in stakeholder demands, loss in competitiveness of the current business model, or simply an intrinsic motivation to improve their societal value may all account for the beginning of the process. Being clear about why a new sustainable business model is desired and clarifying the goals of the process helps firms to orientate their innovation thinking and begin to consider what business opportunities may be available. However, just as a cook may sometimes begin with what is in their cupboards and not with a recipe, it is not always the case that a vision is required from the outset. The second next step in the identifying stage is a strategic analysis. This comprises of using a set of tools to understand the business environment and identify what opportunities there may be to follow through the new vision. A first step is to conduct a form of stakeholder mapping. A stakeholder may be deemed as any entity that is affected or can affect the operations of the firm. Stakeholders include suppliers, consumers and investors, but also groups such as local communities and non-governmental organisations. Stakeholders may be identified in various ways, including how the current business model impacts and depends on stakeholders, or based on a specific sustainability issue in a specific geographical region. Upon identification, stakeholders can then be given some form of classification. A common method is to classify stakeholders based on their attributes. In this example, stakeholders can be positioned in one of 8 classes based on their perceived power, the perceived legitimacy of their claim or interest, and the urgency on which their claims should be addressed by the firm. This exercise helps firms determine which stakeholders to involve in the sustainable business model innovation process and who needs to be considered when creating a sustainable value proposition and value capture model. Stakeholder mapping can be complemented by systems analysis. This analysis considers the interactions between stakeholders. What are the relationships between these actors? How do they interact with each other? Do they share similar interests? What are the existing physical information and monetary flows of the system? At a more fundamental level, firms should also ask, how does an ecological system and social system currently work together? Leading to asking the question, how does my current business model depend upon and impact this system? This exercise helps firms to build an understanding of the system in which they're embedded. Managers may, for instance, identify previously hidden feedback loops and gain an appreciation of the vulnerabilities of the system. Analysing the system at this initial stage helps to avoid creating solutions which may seem too sustainable from a firm perspective, but are not due to the system dynamics. To identify opportunities for a new sustainable business model, a firm may apply a two-step process. First, firms need to identify the pressing social and ecological sustainability challenges of the outside world. Challenges such as eliminating poverty, tackling climate change, biodiversity loss, and reducing inequality may all be considered as the primary focus for a new business model. While some sustainability challenges are global, such as climate change, others have regional specificity. Here, the prior stakeholder mapping and systems analysis can aid businesses to assess which challenges are most critical to their location. Second, a firm will need to assess what resources and capabilities it has at its current disposal to ably address the sustainability challenges identified. A common and useful strategic tool is called a Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities and Threats analysis, or SWOT analysis. This exercise will help the firm to take stock of what it may leverage to create and operate a new sustainable business model, but also help identify what new capabilities it may require to do so. At this stage, the firm may choose to give special attention to intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights include patents, copyrights, trademarks, design rights, and trade secrets. Firms can assess what rights they currently own and may be able to leverage. They also should assess solution areas which are heavily covered by the intellectual property rights of other firms, which infringements might be likely, and what deals could be struck to allow access. Many national patent and trademark offices have online intellectual property awareness tools that can help with this assessment. Finally, at this stage, attention should be given to consumers as a critical stakeholder grouping for the success of a new business model. Here, firms should seek to deeply understand the buying behaviour of consumers. For instance, do consumers really want to own a toothbrush, or do they actually value having clean teeth? Do they buy organic food because it tastes good, is perceived healthier, its ecological sustainability benefits, or just because it makes them feel good about themselves? Thank you for joining us for this first part of 3 videos looking at the sustainable business model innovation process. We look forward to seeing you for part 2 focused on the design phase. Happy innovating.